I wish to share with you a very strange trance event that took place at the Temple of Isis at the autumnal equinox 1990. I've never found an explanation. It is only when I studied the Gnostic Gospels recently a new idea came to me. I've never written or indeed spoken of the event, and the only witness of it, Jonathan Cott, author of Isis and Osiris with ourselves in it, and Om Seti, a wonderful book of this lady, was one of our members, has now gone. He's passed into the next world. Well, I'll tell you about it. It requires a certain amount of moral courage, but I'm 91, so I might as well say all I know before I do also join him over there. In 1990, Jonathan was writing about the Fellowship of Isis for his book, Isis and Osiris. This was because Om Seti, mystic of Abydos, had joined the Fellowship of Isis just before she passed. His book, Om Seti, was very successful. The publishers, Doubleday, had an editor-in-chief, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. It was she who suggested that Jonathan should write present-day priestesses of the ancient Egyptian faith. In my correspondence with her, she asked for the titles once given to Isis and then conferred on the Virgin Mary, Sedis Sapientis, Seat of Wisdom, Regina Coeli, Queen of Heaven, and Stella Maris, Star of the Sea. I now think it was the Roman empresses who were Christians, the Poppaea. Well, the priestess of Isis was Olivia, the archpriestess of the whole show, wife of Augustus, but they continued with that and moved on to the Virgin Mary, with the famous St. Helena, wife of Constantine, becoming a saint. In that autumn, Jonathan used our ceremony of the restoring of life to Osiris by his wife Isis as the basis of his section on the FOI. However, he also attended a private Isis wedding rite of a priestess and priest of Isis, performed by my brother Lawrence and myself. It turned out to be extremely and rather weirdly private. I hadn't intended it to be like that. I invited no guests except Jonathan. Indeed, an eerie atmosphere enveloped the castle and grounds like a mist. I felt slightly entranced myself. We began the ceremony in the old abbey, 14th century ruins, later made Gothic by my ancestors, in the grounds. It was then that the priest entered walking trance. She described all this to us later. This priestess has all her psychic centers open and is able to enter altered states like so many of us. Her husband is also an occultist, her future husband, but though ostensibly the bridegroom, did not enter in this experience at all. He was rather puzzled, a bit hurt. After the earthly Isis wedding rite, the bride, who seemed to be still in trance, gradually came round and told us what she experienced. In the abbey it began. She suddenly found herself not wearing Indian red robes, which was a middle-aged lady. She found herself as a very young girl, full of joy, wearing white. She realized, she somehow knew that she was reenacting the wedding of Cana. She went through our ceremony in this altered state. She described what it was like. She told us that Mother Mary was a middle-aged lady, very sensible, wearing blue and presiding efficiently over the proceedings. She was standing in the east by our Pisces altar. However, our whole attention was upon the bridegroom. The bride was much in love. He was with his male companions, but in an adjoining healing chapel. He wasn't in the same place, but there was a window, an indoor window joining. In this healing chapel in the southeast, there was a large painting of Isis, as the winged Isis right across the sky was Sirius and Orion, and below her was a ceramic figure of Osiris in the form of Horus, coming up from the earth. That's how they have it in Egypt. The sky goddess, the star goddess is Luit or Isis, and the earthly man is coming up from the earth. Geb, he's called often. The bride said that the bridegroom was Christ. This is an embarrassing thing to say, but I've got to do it. This priestess is pagan, not a Christian. Very embarrassing using those sort of words. It's so embarrassing. I asked what the bridegroom was like, and she said he was absolutely wonderful, certainly in the mind of this young girl. She adored him. She was in ecstasy. As the ceremony continued, the trance began to wear off. When it was ending, I suddenly asked Jonathan, who was sitting in the south, was he Jewish? He said he was. I felt he had to be, but he was the only witness, and he was sitting in the south, by our south gateway. In some instinctive way, I felt he had to be there. There was still this odd cut-off atmosphere. We all went upstairs to have a wedding meal. The weird feeling of being totally cut off from the rest of the world persisted, as if we were between two worlds. Suddenly it was broken by the arrival of unexpected visitors. What had happened? Nobody spoke about it much. The possible answer, I thought, was that the priestess had joined those millions of nuns who become brides of Christ through the ages, but she was not interested in such a role. She lived as wife with her partner in the usual way. Why did this event occur with such emphasis on spiritual consciousness? It was only after I'd speculated about a possible marriage of Christ and Mary Magdalene, alchemical marriage, that I wondered, had the wedding of Cana been this marriage? I got quite nervous thinking of all this, because people sort of kill each other about dogmas of religion, you know. It's nice and peaceful being ancient Egyptian. Nobody's going to kill you about that, usually. You know, they fight between Ammon-Ra and Akhenaten, but they don't murder you. But why was Mary supervising the provision of wine? Why was she arranging her ceremony? Why no record? Anyway, people always say, that's perfectly simple. They were definitely excommunicated. Later, all records were destroyed. Christ and all his followers, they had to rely on women from Herod's household to feed them. They had nowhere to sleep, nowhere to be. To protect future children, remembering Herod, both families, even at that time, needed a secret wedding, because some believed that he was descended from a god, Akhenaten. Caesarion, son of Caesar, and Cleopatra had been murdered, and it was rumoured that a priest this is all hearsay, a priest in the temple of Ammon, who was a direct descendant of Akhenaten, but also a brilliant astrologer and priest of Ammon-Ra, combined the qualities of the Good Shepherd holding his staff and of the Holy Spirit, the Aten of Akhenaten. So he was both monotheist and pantheist, and had the Haris Gamos, the sacred marriage, because they wished to unite, after the murder of Caesarion, they wished to unite the tradition of the ancient Egyptians with Moses, son of an Egyptian princess. They wanted, for some reason, I think it was the role of the prophets. They were wonderful prophets, and they wanted to join them. Anyway, that's that story. I hope to be fair-minded, so I leave this mysterious wedding open, not to analysis, but to the creative imagination. What is more delightful than a mystery of love?